Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. Dude, so how are you feeling?
I feel alright. I feel much better than I did a few weeks ago anyway.
Jesus Christ, man. For anybody that's not familiar, I mean, I was looking on your Instagram actually the other day. I'm constantly just stalking the hell out of you, to be honest. And you put yourself down there. I find it really interesting, the order in which you put it. So you've got yourself down as an average CrossFitter, firefighter, and obviously a daddy to Jaws, the little man that's running around the house at the minute. How long have you been in the fire service?
5.5, coming up to 6 years. So, I started out on call, I retained, and then managed to get in whole time about 3 years ago or so.
What did you do before it then? You mean when you were on call? Because how old are you?
33 now.
33. So what were you doing before it when you were on call?
On call, I was working for British Gas, fitting smart meters. And like being on call just made me want to be whole time. I loved it, and so I just kept applying until I got in, basically.
Is there any kind of background of like emergency services in your family? What sort of family background?
Really.
You've got any siblings, or do your parents do it, or?
No. Well, my dad was retained, I think, a long time ago when he was a young lad. I joined the army when I was younger, and then I snapped my cruciate ligament and ended up getting out of the army. Then I had a go at being a special constable for a year or so. And then I was thinking about doing that full time. It's quite difficult to get into. So then, I looked into the fire service and thought, you know what, that's going to be a bit of me. I'll pursue that.
so you've literally kind of nearly done the whole trek. Yeah. You're not other than being a paramedic. Why did you want to get into the military? Because there was obviously something screaming out for you to want to go and be part of something that was making some kind of difference. What made you have that itch to scratch?
It's hard to put a finger on. I always feel like I have something to give. Like I'm quite physical. I'm active. I don't want to be sat in an office, wasted. I feel like I've got more I can give and I can help people, and I'm not one to panic in like extreme situations. I feel like I can bring something to the table, and I wanted to tap into that. I didn't want it to go to waste. So,
do you think that does diminish? Because when I hear you say that, like, I'm going to say it's a secret superpower first and foremost, because I'm totally there and I'm totally there with you. But, and maybe it's a question I should be asking your partner, but isn't there a little bit of a self-torture? Have you ever found involved in that? Because I'm really difficult to be around, I think, for long periods of time. I struggle with mediocrity. Do you know what I mean? When you say you're comfortable in chaos and you enjoy that side of it, like you say, you get attracted to sports and push stuff that's going to push you, but also not everybody wants to be at that all the time. Have you ever had that sort of, how have you managed that? Has that ever been a problem?
It's a good way of putting it. I think like when I was younger, I lived with my parents. They didn't quite get it, like why I always wanted to be busy. I always was on my feet. I couldn't just sit still. And again, now and again at home with my missus, it's like, just chill out, just sit down. Like, you don't need to train every day. I'm like, you don't get it. I do. And,
how do you handle that though? Because that's been really difficult for me and my missus. I mean, she's gotten really, really good with me. She knows when I need to go and do that sort of stuff, and she'll almost just prompt me sometimes to just go for a run or go down to the gym or something, because she knows how much I struggle. And struggle sounds like an exaggeration, but I really feel like I do struggle with it. It's like an anxious. I don't know if anxious is the right word, because I don't want to say anxiety, and I'll start waving that flag with the greatest respect to people that struggle, because I definitely struggle with it at times, but I know some people genuinely struggle, so I wouldn't say I struggle with being anxious with it, but I get tense, and like I'll be sitting on the sofa sometimes, and my missus will be like, you're tensing. And I'm like, I'm not, what do you mean? She's like, you're tensing, just relax. You're physically tensed, and you don't even realize it, but you're like, because I never sit on the goddamn sofa. I've got this kind of rule, like I'll sit down to watch a film, because a film has got a start and a stop. I know that you want an hour and a half of my time or whatever, but we're not the sort of, we've only got one telly in the house, so we ain't got them in the bedrooms or anything like that. Do you have any of those aspects, and how have you managed to balance that? Because I think it is a common issue with people in emergency services, and if they don't find a way to navigate it, it can push people apart.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what you just said. So I'll like, if I've not trained or life is getting in the way, I'll get ratty. I'll get short at home. I'll get short-tempered. I'll snap, and she'll know. Like I said, she'll be like, "You need to go to the gym. You need to go out for a run. You need to do something." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm going. I'm off." And then as soon as I'm back, it's all fit. I'm all good like that. I've scratched the itch. But I can be around the house. I can chill out for a bit. It's just making sure I tick those boxes. Like usually, I'm quite lucky, obviously, in the fire service. You get a lot of time off. So when she's at work and he's at nursery, I get all my training in. I tick all those boxes, and I can like sit down and chill out at night after I've done all those things.
Yeah. How did you tear your ACL? You said you tore that when you were in the military.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah. Just playing football. No one tackled me or anything. It was just I was like closing down a defender to take the ball off him, and he twisted, and I went to stop like quite sudden after running quite fast, and he just like dislocated, went side on. I was like, I tried to like push it back myself, and then it just ballooned. Shit. And then I were only, I think, 20, 21.
Really?
Yeah. So I had quite a lot of physio, and they said, yeah, it's definitely torn. I went for an MRI. They confirmed it was torn. Eventually, I had it fixed, like a hamstring graft put in there. And
that's a young age to have something like that done. Yeah, and like you say, it never is the same. I've had torn ligaments. I tore my whole pec off. I've prolapsed discs in my back. I've popped my hamstring, but that's a young age to have to go through something like that. Because did that put you out of the military? Was that a career-ending sort of injury for it?
Well, yeah, I came back, it was fine, but because I was in the parachute regiment, you have to do a lot of tabbing and jumping out of planes, and it was always there, niggling away. So I thought, you know what, I'll get out. It was a time when there wasn't a lot going on either, to be honest, so I was getting quite bored. So I just said, yeah, it's time for me to leave, and I'll pursue something else.
Today's episode was once again brought to you by William Wood Watches. With the tagline, once forgotten, now reborn, every single watch has 100 years of firefighting history in it. They take an original Merryweather brass firefighter's helmet worn by firefighters in Britain in the 1920s and melt it inside every single William Wood watch. All of the craftsmanship is carried out in the heart of London, and they are proud to lock in the legacy of the brave firefighting heroes in every single timepiece. I think one of my favourite things about these watches is the Firehose Straps. Now, these have gone from landfill to effectively luxury now. They receive firehose from a massive amount of fire services from all around the world, which has come to the end of its life. The majority of the firehose around the world is unfortunately ends in landfill usually. They clean the hose, repurpose it, and sew it into the luxury watch straps themselves. I always wear the red one, but when you get your watch, it comes with a series of different ones you can get. You can explore the full range of upcycled straps on their website, and you can see the link in the episode notes. If you head over to their website, you'll be able to check out the Jubilee, the Triumph, the Valiant, the Bronze, and the Chivalrous. All of those watches are available right there, and you can spread the cost of these over 3 to 6 months interest free. So for the pulse of the fire service right there on your wrist, head over to williamwoodwatches.com and take a look. I always have a lot of admiration for people in the military because, like in the fire service, when people moan about not having lots of incidents or something like that, I'm like, how do the military do it? Because with the greatest of respect, like we went through a period of intense conflict, when we were in Ireland and we had a few other things, but that was a long time ago now. With the exception of the stuff that's been going on in Iraq, the vast majority of people, when I'm saying this is a generality, may very well spend a long time in the military and never actually get in a conflict, never actually. But you've still got to keep that hunger to train. How did you balance that when you were going into the Paris? Because Paris is no joke. From the very limited, I think I've spoken to 2 people from parachute regiments. That's an intense thing to be getting into. Not to really know what you're going to be. I know you know the functions of what you'll be doing when you get into the role, but what did you think it was going to be like when you got in it versus what it was like?
Yeah, it's a good question and a good point. Like training, I absolutely loved it. I thrived. It was everything I thought it would be, and harder and more intense. And I actually passed out as champion recruit. It's just when I do something, I want to be the best at it, and I absolutely loved it. But then you got to battalion, like you said, the conflicts had finished really, and it was just like lots of training. But it got stale, so there wasn't always lots going on. A lot of the time we'd parade. In the morning, we do a bit of PT, and they say, right, time's your own, and people would sink off into the rooms and play COD all day. And
wow, really?
I struggled with that, mate. I couldn't do it, and that's when I thought, what, he's not the best anyway. I'll use this, and I'll find something else to do, because I just couldn't sit in my room for like a few hours at a time. And during the working day, like when you're in the military, you can't really get into civilian clothes and go and do your own thing, you are like tied into certain hours of work. So they'll say either go to the armory and clean rifles, and so many times you can do that. People would hide out in the room, play a game. The young lads would absolutely love that, don't get me wrong, and then they'd go out, go to Scoff and have food and then whatever. But yeah, after a few weeks, months of that, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me anymore.
What did you think you were going to go on to do after that? Because you must have been setting it up since you were like 16, thinking this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a career in the military. Did you ever think about exploring different aspects of the military? And I know it's not something we were going to go into today, but I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, definitely. Like when I joined, like to be fair, my brother was in the parachute regiment. He's a couple of years younger than me. He joined straight from school at Harrogate College, and he went to Afghanistan, and like stories he told me made me want to join. And when I did, fortunately, Afghanistan, there's nothing going on. But yeah, so I thought, do you know what? This is the elite of the army, according to the parachute regiment, and I thought I could maybe go down the Pathfinder route, SAS. But then, like, I started to think like my knee and the issues, and I thought, is that out of reach? Do I really want to do that? And then I met my partner, and just I think if you're going to go back the SAS route or Pathfinder route, it's a single man's game, at least in the early stages, because you're aware. And yeah, I kind of got loved up, and then I already changed.
So when you came out, you say you decided to go into like police constable to see what that was all about.
I wasn't sure, so I was looking at on-call as well, as a on-call firefighter. Sorry, and I applied and didn't get in. I got to interview, didn't get in. So then, right, I'll have a look at the police. They weren't recruiting full-time police constables, but they were recruiting special constables. And I looked into what it was. Basically, it's volunteer. You don't get paid for your time, but you get lots of experience. You have powers of arrest. And I thought that might be a back way in. I'll have a go at this, and I managed to get in. Did all the training. I loved the training again. I think it was 12 hours a week, basically a shift and a half. And you go out with a regular police. I lived at Accrington at the time, and I'd just be around the streets of Accrington, just trying to make it better, make it safe, so to speak.
When you look back at that now, though, because it was, like you say, there's a crucial role that they do in the community, but I'm not just saying this about police officers, I say about fire service, and I say about a lot of things now, maybe other than the military, but the pass mark in so many things just feels like it's getting lower. Do you know what I mean? We want to get everybody in, we want to create an equal environment and stuff like that, but it's tough to find things unless you're going to go after some of the physical challenges that you've gone after. It's tough to find things that really makes you feel like it's going to take more than 70, 80, 90% of yourself. You know, how many people can really ask themselves, you know, when have you really been at peak performance? It's so hard to find something that really calls that out of you now.
Yeah, you're right, mate. It really is. And like, I think we're quite similar in that we kind of crave that and need it, and it is. And you think you found it, you apply, you don't get in, and then you're like, well, what else is out there that's going to scratch this itch, that's going to push me, tap into my potential, and just help me make a difference. And
even in our role now, you know, I feel like it's hard to get things like that are really going to push you. When did you start doing CrossFit?
Probably about 18 months, 2 years ago.
What made you want to get into that?
A couple of friends that had mentioned it to me, saying you might be good at it. And when I seen the video of Matt Fraser, I was like, yeah, he is a beast, I think. So I thought, yeah, luckily there's a CrossFit gym that's 5 minutes away from me. So I went down, they were dead good, they had a chat with me and stuff, and I thought, yeah, I can this is going to scratch that itch I've got again, and it's going to push me in different ways, because CrossFit is a good mixture of weightlifting, cardio, gymnastics as well, and there's lots of things that you're not good at that you can practice at and get better at, and it got me hooked early on.
It's really good at humbling you, isn't it? Because you have to start at being a beginner and stuff like. I mean, I'm amazed at the level of gymnastic stuff that you're able to. How big are you?
I'm 5'7", so I'm all short, really. CrossFit suits shorter athletes. At least taller ones say that, anyway. Yeah,
mate. Those short levers really do seem to help out with, you know, you're just closer to the ground for absolutely everything.
Definitely, yeah.
When did you first want to start trying to do any sort of competitions in it? Because you had your first real competition in May of this year. Is that right?
Yeah, well, my first individual RX one, when I felt like I was good enough to enter RX individual. I'd done a couple of team ones before that, because there's a few lads at my gym that got good as well. And when I joined, like, I quickly got good at it. I picked it up fast, and then I was like, you know what, yeah, I might do a couple of comps and just see where I'm at and the level I'll be up against and what I need to improve on. And again, it just fed into that like obsession I was getting. And then, like I said, there were another lad at my gym that was slightly better than me, like when I first started.
Yeah.
And he was like my target. I was like, right, I'm gonna get better than him. And like literally, I'd like watching what he was doing. I'm like, yeah, I can do that better. I learned a lot from him as well. We became good friends, like a friendly rivalry.
Oh, 100%, mate. You know, I always talk to people about value of association and being around people that are going to, you know, expect the absolute best from you. And there's an aspect to CrossFit that's a real healthy competition side of it. You know, some people have all this, you know, oh, it's just showing up and it's just taking part. You know what? That's not how fucking life works. You know, life rewards people that are going to go that extra mile. And, you know, competition is healthy.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, and it's like you said, the like-minded people I found at the CrossFit gym, and like we all pushed each other. It's brilliant, man. It got the best out of me anyway, and it just made me want more.
So when you went first into this competition, I remember when I was looking back through the Instagram, it was obviously one of the things that just fucking bowled me over when I came over it. Something fairly unexpected happened to you as part of this first comp, and it was. I mean, it's surreal to be having the conversation with you today. Could you take us through sort of from the beginning of that day, how your body was feeling, how your mind's feeling, anxiety, how you were thinking about the day ahead, and then how it all sort of panned out?
Yeah. I'll try and give you my best version. It's difficult to talk about still, but yeah. So I was really looking forward to it. Like I said, me and a couple of friends that also entered the competition, we all travelled down together the day before, the Saturday, stayed over in a hotel, got up in the morning, had breakfast together, and then made our way to the competition in Middlesbrough on the Saturday, 8th of May. And yeah, got the athlete briefing. I was feeling good. I was feeling excited, a little anxious as well, and apprehensive. Your natural feelings, right, at a competition where you're going to test your fitness and test yourself against some of the best people in the Northwest. The first event was probably a weaker one for me, so it's a bit of a damage limitation event. It had like some dumbbell squat snatches in mixed with like double unders. I'm good at double unders now, but the dumbbell squat snatches, they kind of test your hip mobility, which is a bit of a weakness of mine. So I did fine in that event. Again, like I said, it was damage limitation. Did all right in that event. The second event was handstand walks with sandbag cleans and torta bar. I was looking forward to this one. It's stuff I've been practicing for a while. In the first lockdown, I bought a sandbag, like a 70-kilo sandbag, and I've absolutely hammered it to death. I got good at it. And handstand walks as well was a thing I picked up fast. I got good at that. And toes to bar, if you can hold on to the bar, and which I could, I was quite good at them. So it was a good mix for me. And I did really well in that event. I won my heat by 1 rep.
Dude, I find the handstand walks so... I haven't done a handstand. Well, I did one like about 2 months ago, but I hadn't done one since I was like 10. And I really, really struggle with that. There's like this inherent fear about getting yourself upside down that I feel like I'm just going to collapse down on my goddamn head. You know, I know I'm strong enough in the shoulders, but those gymnastics moves I find the hardest part of it.
Today's episode is supported by our good friends over at Duty Crew Coffee. Now, as you're probably aware, coffee is the most popular drink worldwide, with over 2.25 billion cups of coffee consumed every single day, and over 70 million of those in the UK alone. Most of this is consumed in our crew rooms, our watch offices, and by our emergency services frontline staff. So when you're getting together around the mess table, don't be drinking a nasty-ass cheap coffee. Nobody likes that guy that brings the cheap stuff. Life is too short to be drinking crap coffee. So if you head on over to dutycrew.co.uk or click the link in the podcast below, you'll be able to jump on over and see the Duty Crew coffee products. They come in 227 gram oversized high quality recyclable standard pouches, and they are individually wrapped 10 gram coffee bags. They're quick, mess free, convenient. They have a one-way degassing valve, which is an absolute must for storage of freshly roasted coffee. You can get the 20-pack response bag. They've got the HQ, they've got the No Duff, they've got the Unity, the Decaf, and of course all of their products are Rainforest Alliance certified, Fair Trade Foundation, and most importantly, they taste freaking epic. I started drinking Duty Crew about 2 months ago, and then when I fell in love with it, I got in contact with them and they came on board with the podcast. So jump on over to Duty Crew Coffee if you want some of the good stuff. Now back to the podcast.
Yeah, I got part of that. So gymnastics, I mean, that I were able to pick it up. Initially, when I first started CrossFit, like I said, I didn't feel ready to enter a competition because it took me a while to pick it up. I was so stiff and used to like strict movements, so to speak, and not using momentum and letting my body into these positions. They felt a bit alien to me, but once I watched a few videos and gave it a go, trial and error a lot, I picked it up fast. And I used to go twice a day when I was in that phase. So I'd do my normal session and do a second session just working on gymnastics and weaknesses, because like I said, at this point I was obsessed in getting good at it.
Yeah.
And I picked those bits up pretty quick and I got good at them. I think if you work on a weakness enough, you will turn it into a strength, or at least into something you can do, which is the kind of level I got to at that point. But that was this second event. And like I said, I think the handstand walking may have had a contribution, which we can talk about after. But I felt all right. I felt fine. And then we had about a 45-minute break. And then the next event was like a 1,200 meter run, just a little run. Which, again, not a mega strength, but not a weakness either. Just I expected to finish somewhere in the top 10, I was hoping. But then when we set off, I felt a little bit lethargic. I just felt off, and I couldn't speed up. I managed to finish middle. I think I finished 23rd out of 40, which is it was fine, especially with me finishing quite high in the second event. Yeah, then we had about another hour's break before the last event, which was potentially going to be a good one for me. It had lots of clean and jerking, so it was going to be 10 clean and jerks at 60, 10 at 70, 10 at 80, 10 at 90, and then 10 at 100. And you have to do those for time, it's called. So however long it took you to finish would be your time. So yeah, we've been sat around for an hour, me and my friend. He was in the same category as me. And we said to each other, should we go and warm up for this event? And at this point, I think I was on my second can of energy drink. Which again could have been a contributing factor, which I found out later. So I went over to the warm-up area, put 50 kilos on the bar, which is no weight at all to me really, and I did 5 clean and jerks at that. Felt absolutely fine, put it down. Had a look around, my mate was still getting his lifters on, still getting ready, so I thought I'll have another swig of my energy drink and I'll do another 5. And then I went to grab it. For the second lot of 5, you do a hook grip, so you hook your thumb against the bar and wrap your fingers around. It just helps you engage your lats and get in a better position for the clean. And when I did that, both my thumbs just felt weird, so I tried to let go of the bar. This all happened in a matter of seconds, but to explain it might take a bit longer. But I went to let go of the bar, and my arms both arms just felt like they were pins and needles, and I couldn't control them. So I'd lost my arms. I was like, whoa! I started to panic a bit at this point. I stood up and I was just looking at my hands. I was like, what's wrong with him? And I was trying to resist and move my hands. And then someone came over, not my friend at this point, he was still getting ready. He said something to me. And I half heard him, so I tried to say something back, and I'll never forget what it sounded like. It came out like gobbledygook, and just slurred, horrible sound that came out of me. And he looked at me a bit funny, and I think at this point in my head, I'm sheer fear of panic. So I must have repeated myself about 6 or 7 times, and it just came out like a horrible, funny, gurgling noise. And he just looked at me like I had something wrong with me, a bit weird, and I think he didn't know who I was, so he might have thought that was normal for me, and he just kind of went about his business. And at this point, I'm like, shit, I'm in a world of trouble here.
Something's really wrong here.
Yeah. I thought the worst. I thought I'm gonna die, and no one knows what's happening to me, and no one's here to help me. So I turned around looking for help, and luckily at this point, Nick was making his way over, and I think he's seen my face, and I think he recognised something was wrong. And then as he got to me, I tried to raise my arms and put him on his shoulders and tell him that I felt weird. But again, the sound that came out of me, I was fully aware. I could hear my voice, I could see people's faces. I was trying to communicate, but nothing was coming out. And he just he kind of went white. He shouted for help. He said, "Zac, sit down." And yeah, so he did that. He shouted for help. 2 other people came over. I think Ash and Jace came over. I think Jace is an ex-army medic, so he kind of had an idea of what might be going on when he got there. It was very reassuring. And they sat me down. Someone rang an ambulance. At this point, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, I've had or having a stroke. Something's wrong anyway, and I can't fix it because I've been trying to fix it. And then I kind of indicated to go outside. I think I was a bit embarrassed. There was lots of people looking,
Yeah, it's fucking horrible, isn't it?
I was kind of still in the room, so I'm kind of aware what was going on. I was like mad at myself that I couldn't fix it. So I was like, I kind of indicated to go outside because I couldn't fucking speak. And yeah, they took me outside. And afterwards, they said like they had to like carry me. I felt like I walked outside, but obviously I didn't. They sat me down outside, and then after about 5 minutes, my strength came back, so my arms came back. I felt okay. I felt like I got my body awareness back, if you will. My arms, I could squeeze people's hands when they were asking and stuff, but I still couldn't speak. So I'd try and say 2 or 3 words, and it just came out slurred or in the wrong order. It was so surreal that I couldn't communicate, and I'd get frustrated, and I'd just stop talking. I'd be like, well, it's not working. So I'd just get upset, get frustrated, and stop talking. And they said, don't worry, you're getting better already. You can move now. And after about, I'd say 30 minutes, the ambulance came, and so they did a few tests on me. They were like I said, at this point, I kind of recovered, so I've got some movement back. I felt okay. I just couldn't speak. It felt like my tongue was hanging out my mouth. It felt like, when you go to the dentist and you've had a few injections in your mouth. It felt like that. It felt like I just couldn't control my tongue, and it felt like the face was melting. It just felt so weird. And I said, I tried to say, this isn't normal. I don't usually talk like this. And they kind of mentioned stroke, and they did a few tests on the ambulance and said, right, we're going to have to go to hospital. And luckily, the hospital, I think, was like 5 minutes where it's around the corner in Middlesbrough. Took me to hospital. One of my friends came with me. Lots of tests in hospital. So I had a CT scan, an MRI, ECG, all of it. And then a bit of waiting around for the results and stuff. And then someone came in and said, it was getting later on the day at this point. Someone came in and said, we can't let you go. You've got to stay in overnight. I was like, right, what am I going to do then? They were like, I only had the clothes on my back at this point. And they said, well, you can ring your friend and they can bring you things and you can tell them what's going on. Because I think they'd gone I told them, like, go for your tea.
Yeah.
I found out what's wrong with me, and then you can take me home. I expected to go home, like the optimist inside me.
A quick reminder for all of our listeners of our monthly giveaway. Now, as part of our partnership with Hikes, Rosenbauer, and Tallyman, we give away that little bit extra to our podcast listeners every single month. You can get 2 personalized BA tallies. These are hardware, and they've got your own name on them, they've got your own service number on them, and they have the podcast logo on the back. And then for the juicy stuff, Hikes give away a pair of their incredible footwear. And some of the stuff is pretty expensive stuff, to be honest with you. We try and switch it and change it every month. We are guided by the gods of Hikes to make sure we are giving you exactly what you need for that time of year. So it might be boots, it might be trainers. And then once every quarter, our good friends over at Rosenbauer are giving away their Boris B5 Firefighter boots as well. So to be in with a chance to win, jump over to our social media platforms or YouTube, where you need to tag a member of the emergency services in the post, be following our page, and you will be in with a chance to win at the end of every single month. Back to the show.
Had you got in contact with your partner by this point?
No, not
anybody.
Yeah, I'll go on to that. Not at this point. No, I didn't really want to.
She's going to be fucking furious.
Yeah. So yeah, luckily Nick came and he brought all my stuff, and he said those exact words. He said, mate, you're going to have to tell your partner Katie. And I was like, nah. I said, no, there's no way. I said, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? I know how she'll react. It's not going to be good, so I'd rather just avoid it. And they're like, well, mate, she's going to know when you don't tip up at tonight and you don't make it home. I was like, yeah, good point. And then I said, well, I can't speak properly, so you're going to have to do it. And Nick said, yeah, all right. And I was hoping.
What did you think she was going to say? All joking aside, because whatever, she'd be upset that you hadn't let her know, but
I don't know. I don't know what I just knew she would be terrified, scared. I knew she'd cry. Like when my missus is upset and you ring her, I was like silent. She'll go silent for it feels like forever, but probably like a minute, and she just doesn't say it. And she's crying, then eventually she gets the courage to speak. And I just kind of knew that would happen, and she'd be very worried about me. And I'd rather her not, put that fear in her.
Was there any aspect as well, though, with the greatest of respect, the way you felt like that might set you off? Because
mate, definitely.
That's where I'm like I'm dealing with this, whatever it is, I'm dealing with it. Don't, and then they do, and you just lose it. Not lose it, but do you know what I mean?
I didn't want to add anyone else to this situation at this point, because still kind of trying to accept it or not accept it. I didn't it was just like so hard to take. I didn't want anyone else's feelings involved at this point, really.
When you say so hard to take, when you were sat there in that waiting room, you just, everything goes through your head. You realise, like, you must have thought, what do I even know about strokes? What does that mean? I've got an idea of someone that's had a stroke and what their life is like. What did you think? What did you think was going to happen after that?
I was scared, mate. I was like just full of fear. I don't know. I didn't know if I'd ever be able to speak normal again. I didn't know if, like, luckily, like I said, I managed to get my movement back, and I'd made quite a good response quite quickly. But I was scared that, is this just adrenaline? Am I going to lose something? Work, family, the gym, like everything I love, is it being taken away, sort of thing.
How old was your son at this point? How old is he?
He was 3 and he turned 4 not so long ago, like last week or last 2 weeks ago, end of June. So yeah, it was 3 turning 4 soon. So yeah, I thought about him as well, and that just made me upset.
Yeah, I've got 3 children, and it just crushes me when and it's what's kind of made me turn around a lot of the way I do stuff, because I was heading down a path of just completely ripping my body to pieces and didn't really care. And then the thought of not being able to do certain things with them really, really, really shifts things for you. So what was it like when she showed up?
She couldn't come because of George, and I said, don't worry, don't come. So Nick, like, I said to Nick, well, you're gonna have to ring her. I can't talk, and his answer was, yeah, all right, I'll do it. And I was kind of hoping he'd say no, but he was dead keen to let her know. So I was like, fine. So I said to him, well, let's practice. I'll be Katie. Tell me what you're gonna say. And he did really good. Like, he said everything like dead calm and stuff. I was like, wow, mate, yeah, let's do it then. Let's ring her. And he rang her, and then, like I said, a few silences, lots of tears. And she was asking questions like, is he okay? Can he walk? Can he move? And I was like getting a bit welled up at that point. And I'm like, yeah, just tell her I'm fine. I just can't speak. And I said to tell her, like, maybe I'll FaceTime her later if I feel up to it. So we just said that, and I said, look, I don't expect you to come down. I said, I'm hoping I can come home tomorrow. Let's just see what happens tomorrow, and go from there. So that was that. I did FaceTime her later on that day, and she said she cried straight away. And she said, I can see, like, your face is like, it was kind of droopy on one side still, and like I said, conversation wasn't. It was just really difficult. I'd say 1, maybe 2 words. I get stuck. I'd say another 2 words, and I'd just get frustrated and stop talking. Then I'd just, like, either just get frustrated or I'd cry. And she cried. And it was just lots of that. We'd probably, like, spent 45 minutes first time just doing that. And she said, just try and stay positive. Like, and I had a book, and I said, like, yeah, I'll give that a read, and I'll just, like, start trying to fix what's broke, sort of thing.
What book did you have?
HWPO, so it's Hard Work Pays Off by Matt Fraser.
Yeah. That's great. I had to listen to it on audio. I haven't got the patience for reading it. So even then, at that moment in time, you were trying to, have an analysis of damage limitation, and I'm going to start working on this thing. Even then, you sat in the hospital, first night in, and you're like, right, recovery starts here.
Yeah, like, I was still struggling to accept it, but I thought, well, right, let's assess what's the damage, what can I do to make this better. So I did I were up and about walking. I was like, right, yeah, I'm fine with that. It's the speech that's an issue. So I thought, let's open this book and let's just see where I get to. And it was like, I'd videoed myself, like, reading it as well. I think I shared that on social media.
Yeah, you did. I saw that.
The recovery read. So it started like that, and then, like, the next day, the doctor came in and said, yeah, we've got all your tests, we've got your results. We can confirm you had a stroke, and you've got, like, it's 7 parts of the brain have been affected. So the stroke was caused by a little dissection of my carotid artery, which subsequently allowed, like, 7 blood clots into my brain, and affected 7 parts of my brain, basically killing 7 different parts, small parts of my brain, which obviously affected my speech, but luckily not much else. Just taking that news that morning, like, became very real.
Yeah.
And he showed me the MRI of my brain and like the 7 dead parts of it. I was like, wow, shit. Like,
how did that look? Because when you say 7 dead parts, that's probably relative to how many there is. I don't know how many there is. You know.
Yeah.
Could you see it, or did you need it explaining to you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
so
if I had looked at it, I don't know anything about the brain.
Yeah, a bird's eye view of your brain is like 2 halves together. It was 1 half of it, and there's like just 7 small, I'd say like 1p to 2p, different varied sizes, roughly that size, between 1 and 2p, like 7 different parts on the right hand side of my brain, all darkened out, and he was pointing to and say, yeah, that's dead, that's dead, that's dead. I was like, wow, how am I still alive? And he just said, you're very lucky. He said, obviously you're a fit young man, that's helped. And I was like, well, what about my speech? And he said he couldn't really answer. He said it might come back, it might not. He said you should think yourself. He said you should think yourself lucky you're still here and you can actually move your arms and legs. He said it could have been much, much worse.
Yeah. Don't be so ungrateful.
Yeah.
We're doing every can we can, Zac. All right, say thank you.
Yeah. I was like, thanks, but
I want more.
This is who I'm at. I need to fix what's wrong. Can I fix it? How do I go about it, sort of thing? And he didn't really have the answers that I wanted, to be fair. He just said, this is what's happened. You're going to be on aspirin probably forever now to prevent it happening again.
Do they just give you aspirin? Do they not give you anything different? Do they not like, is it?
No.
I don't know. Because I've got blood clots in my right leg for I had varicose veins. Well, I've still got varicose veins. And they've given me something. I could probably pull it out of my bag in a minute. But I'm only supposed to take it for 6 weeks because the clot was moving. And I thought they'd just give you something more than aspirin. I don't know why, because that's a very mild thing. It's not like warfarin or anything. I don't think they prescribe warfarin anymore, is it?
To be fair, that's what I thought.
You're like, aspirin? So I can buy that from Sainsbury's. What are you on about?
Yeah. I kind of thought I'd be on all sorts. I'd need more. I don't know. But he said, no, the aspirin is literally just to prevent it happening again. Not that it would. He just said, obviously, it was an injury to your right carotid. And he couldn't really say what had caused it. He said, like, obviously, you've been at a CrossFit competition. He just put it down to strain. And I was like, I found that hard to accept. I was like,
yeah, sounds like a cop-out, doesn't it? I hate it sometimes when people from the medical field go, what do you do? And you go, I do weight training, or I do this. If you do anything, I don't dislike them. I feel for them as well, because they're just trying to find a common mean. Do you know what I mean? They look across all of society and go, look, don't do anything that's too physically exerting, and maybe we can keep you going forever. Because that's kind of the role of them, isn't it? They've got to sustain life for as long as possible. So if you're pushing yourself to the limits, you're always on the fringe of some sort of injury or some sort of the body breaking down. So anytime they see something like that, it is always a bit of a, take it easy, just, mild exercise. How long for? Well, forever? When can I go out? When can I get after it again?
Yeah, exactly, mate. It felt like a cop-out. It was like, well, I've come from a CrossFit comp. I've had this happen to me. You're just putting those two together with no other explanation.
When you first came home and you started having those conversations with your missus and your boy, did they just release you back and say, you just take some aspirin, you'll be fine? Have you got to keep going back for checks? What was it like when you started thinking, I need to start thinking what life's going to look like now?
Yeah. So that, like I said, the next day, he gave me the bad news and told me what happened to me. And I said, look, can I go home? I'm all right. Like, I feel fine now. I've just obviously had a banging headache. But I said, yeah, I want to go home. He said, well, I'll get the physiotherapist to come see you. I'll get the speech therapist to come see you. I did the physio took me for a walk, and I was up and downstairs. I was fine. He said, yeah, for me, you can go. You're fine. Your mobility, there's no issue with that. The speech therapist said we did a few different sentences and scenarios, and I had to read what I saw in these pictures, and I just couldn't do it fully. But she said, look, this might fix it, might not. Said it's just going to take time and practice, but she was happy for me to go home and do that. And I said, happy days, so I was pushing to go home, and they just came with my discharge notes and just some aspirin. And I'm like, is that it? And they're like, yeah.
It's weird.
This is what's happened. And they did say we want someone to probably at least give me a phone call in 6 weeks and just see how I am. And then in 6 months' time, they're probably going to have me back down just to do an MRI and see what's going on in the brain. Just as a bit of a checkup, nothing serious or anything, but and that were it. They let me go. So I'd messaged my friend Nick, who was back home at this point, and he said, "Mate, I'm on my way. I'm coming to get you right now." Because like I said, my missus, as a little one, she's not keen on motorway driving either. So
oh, bless her.
Yeah, she would never drive to Middlesbrough. But luckily, I had a mate that could come and get me. But yeah, he took me home. I got home and she was waiting at the door with George, and we kind of just cuddled and cried. Like still surreal at this point. Still like accepting what's happening. Lots of tears. And like
George is so young as well. Do you know what I mean? Did she kind of like prep George at all? Did she kind of say Daddy's going to sound a little bit weird?
No, nothing at all. She just said he's been at a CrossFit competition and he'll be back soon. So we just stuck with that. And because he was only 3, I thought like, he doesn't need to know what's happened to me.
No, and he wouldn't understand too much of it.
He probably wouldn't even understand if you know what I mean.
But he'd know you sound different.
Yeah, I think he picked up on that. He'd be like, just looking at me when I was trying to speak, and it was like, he didn't say anything, but I think he knew something wasn't right with how I was talking.
They're aware of so much more than we think they are sometimes.
Yeah, I was like, something's wrong.
So what was that first, I don't want to go into anything super personal, but what was that first night like, sitting on the sofa, talking, what's this going to look like? Can you go back to work? What are we supposed to do? Are you sure they've just given you aspirin and nothing else? What are we supposed to do now?
Yeah, mate, I'll be honest, I was pretty down and depressed at this point. I was like, at rock bottom, I was like, can't believe this has happened to me. What am I going to do with my life? Like you said, work. Am I going to be able to go back to work? The gym. I love the gym. I need it. Am I going to be able to go back to the level I was at? All these questions running from my head, no answers really. So I just thought, I'll sit down, I'll read, and I'll fix my speech for now. And I did that for about 4 days, and then after 4 days of just like waking up in the morning crying because I couldn't go to the gym, and still like trying to accept it and for what it is and deal with it. So I spent a couple of days reading, and any word I'd struggled with, I'd write it down. So I think I had a list of about 20 words that I couldn't say, or I'd get stuck halfway through saying it, which is so weird. Like I'd read the word, I'd tell myself to say it, and it just wouldn't come out, or I'd say half of it, and I'd be like, how does that even happen?
Mate, that honesty though, mate, that is... We did you talk about this with your missus about like that strategy? Because you're saying that like it's so natural, like, oh well, yeah, I just obviously systematically just work through standard sentences and start. I noted down words I struggled with. I mean, most people would just put the TV on and just cry and eat bloody hobnobs.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Where does that come from? And I know it might be hard to answer, but I'd love to try and bottle that because, and I don't know if you can. I don't know. It's so hard to. Maybe it's just so natural to you. That's just who you are. But how did you stay remotely optimistic? Because like you say, you're at rock bottom. Yeah, but like for like 5. I know you kept going there and kept going back there, and I'm sure it was a pendulum. It's like grief. Well, it is grief. You feel like there's a death of part of your life, and you go into that tragedy and tears, and then you get angry, and then you make an effort, and then something will trigger you and you'll cry again. But you would try to look for those marginal progress. How do you do that?
Yeah, mate, that's exactly right. I went through that, all those emotions, but like you said, I think it's the way I am. There's something in me that like I assess what was wrong. I was like, right, I can do this and this to try and fix this, and I just thought it gave me like a goal, a target to try and achieve, and it kept me kind of motivated to think. And especially when I started seeing some progress, I'd say a few words and I'm like, oh wow, I can speak. But then I get stuck and I'd be like, no, you can't, mate. But I'd have those little like signs of showing progress, and it kind of kept me motivated. But also I needed something to like do, something to keep me going, keep me positive. And that was it for about 4 or 5 days. And then after that, I was like, I need to go to the gym. I need to at least just sit on an exercise bike and move my legs for 20 minutes. I thought, or I'm going to be like manic depressed suicidal person.
Did they let you drive and all that? There was no issues about?
No, I weren't allowed to drive for a month. And Katie, like, when I told Katie this, she was like, no, you're not going, Jim. You're not going. I was like,
yeah, I know. They say that sort of stuff. Like, my missus says it all the goddamn time. Like, every time I've had an injury or something like that, I've been in the gym in a sling. I've been in there in a back brace. Just like, it is stupid. And we laugh about it. It is stupid. And it is, right at the beginning of our conversation when you said, like, if I do a day and I don't feel like I've done it, that actually is not intelligent. Do you know what I mean? And I think I could have been a far better. I've competed for country and stuff and a few things, but I nowhere near hit my potential because, ironically, I didn't. We talk about discipline, like you've got to be disciplined to do it. You've got discipline. You've also got to be disciplined to stop yourself doing it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Discipline to take a rest day. And I had a rest day today, and I went to the pool and did 60 lengths. But I wasn't in the gym. Do you know what I mean? But I'm like, oh yeah, but it's like active recovery, and we say these stupid words like it justifies us doing it. But I'm sure maybe just a day off every now and again would be right. Just because I've read it out of bloody Ross Edgley's book, it doesn't mean it's true. But yeah, man, that's hard. But so she wasn't going to let you go.
No, she wasn't, and like my compromise was, she said, right, I'll come with you then. I'll make sure you're not doing too much. And I was like, you don't know what too much is. But, I said, fine. Like, we'll walk down together. It was a nice day, luckily. We walked down, and like I said, it's only 5 minutes away. So we walked down. I got on a bike, and she was just like watching me like a hawk.
It must have been weird seeing everybody as well, though, because like everybody, not everybody, but the people that were there. Cuddles. Because, they all give you a hug and tell us about it. Oh, God, I can hear it. Yeah, oh, God, I can see a difference in your face. Yeah, I know. I've just been looking at myself for the last 5 days, so I don't need to tell me.
Yeah. And just, they couldn't believe that I was there that soon. I was like, I'm here because I need to be. I said, I'd just let me do something, so to speak. And just like I said, friendly faces, lots of cuddles, like well wishes. I had it all, and then I just sat on the bike, like moved my legs. I think I was at like zone 2, 50-60% heart rate, and felt fine. And then walked home. I was like, oh, do you know what? I feel better. I feel good. I can actually sleep tonight, because I was having like sleepless nights, just upset, thinking about it over and over again, thinking, am I going to be able to do anything? So it just allowed me to switch off. And that's what started. Then the next day I got up and I just kind of wrote myself program of what I was going to do. So I was like, right, every day I'll do 30 to 40 minutes cardio, I'll do 20 minutes mobility, and then I'll make sure I do a half an hour reading every night. And that was my plan for the next 2 weeks. I wrote that down. I made some little goals, and I was like, yeah, I'll stick to that. And I did that for 2 weeks and felt fine. So I was like, right, it's time to add a bit more, up the intensity. So I added like body weight stuff like burpees, pull-ups, press-ups, things like that. And I did that for another week, and I kind of just seeing how it felt, and I'd add more or I'd take some away if it didn't feel right. Did that for like week 3 and felt fine. So week 4 was like, right, I can up the intensity a bit more, add a few more things, add some gymnastics, because again, it's just body weight, no weight, and CrossFit gymnastics is a lot of momentum. So if you get it right, it's not much strain on your body, so to speak. So I added that, and I added double unders, which is skipping, and I thought, that'll test my coordination. If that's off, can I still do them? And I did them absolutely fine. I was like, so it's like ticking boxes all the time, little positive encouragement that I'm making the steps I want to make. And then I came home, I sat back down and wrote myself like a proper program from like week 4 to week 10, which I'm in 9 to 10 now, like of adding all the stuff I'm missing and all the stuff I want to get better at. And basically, again, still feeling every time I go each week and adding more. And the good thing about CrossFit is there's so many workouts you can do and time yourself and get a score. And I've got hundreds of them. So I could compare myself to where I was. So I'd program in some of the workouts that were like body weight workouts or stuff like that. And then I added, I think about week 6, I started to add some weight to my Olympic lifts. I didn't want to do any compound lifts because I could lift quite heavy, like back squat, deadlift and stuff, and that's what's going to put pressure on, obviously, the injury or whatever, the artery. So I thought I'll just stick to Olympic lifts because I can't lift super heavy and I want to get better at them, so I focus on that.
Loads of it's just tech, isn't it? You just got to get so much better at that right technique.
And your momentum, like it feels weightless at times.
Yeah.
But all throughout this process, don't get me wrong, like my missus, my uncle, my friends were like, "You're doing too much. Stop it. You're doing too much. You shouldn't be touching a barbell yet." But I'm like, so I'm trying to like fend off the.
Well, I think putting on social media probably didn't help either.
for me, I wanted to share. Like,
mate, I know, and I really appreciate that.
And like, I was kind of proud of it. But yeah, I had so many people telling me, "Stop, don't do it." And I think out of fear, and don't get me wrong, like I say even still now, 10-15% of me is scared of anything happening. Like every time I go to the gym and I'm like, I'm ready to push myself, I'm like, "Mate, are you ready for this? Is this too soon?" And there's always that little doubt, and I'm not sure if that will ever go, or every day I go it gets better. So it's like I just keep doing what I've got planned, and now like week 9, 10, I'm back pretty much doing everything that I was doing before. A lot of like my cardio and gymnastics are better than they was because I've spent 6 weeks focusing on them, and now I'm lifting weight again. About 90% of my clean and jerk and snatch, the Olympic lifts, like I said, I probably won't deadlift for a while, or just light deadlift. But yeah, I'm pretty much back better than ever week 9, like feeling good, feeling strong.
How were things with work? Because like you say, as soon as you came back, you started planning out the next week. Because you must have had a conversation with the fire and rescue service about what does this mean? What do they think of it? What are we going to do?
Yeah, so like I said initially, am I going to be able to go back? There's going to be lots of... If I am going to go back, I know what the fire service is like. There's going to be like lots of hoops to jump through, a test to do, and kind of accepted that. And then look, like my watch got in touch, I think, like the day after it happened, and they said they're going to come over, bring the fire engine. They want to see me, they want to speak to me, and they did. And they said, look, we'll help you go through all the occupational health side of it. If you need anything, tell us. Just well wishes. And stuff like that. And then like occupational health got in touch with me, said we want you to come and see our doctor. And I was like, yeah, okay. I think this was like halfway through week 2 or something like that. It'd been a week and a half. So I went to see him, and it was really good. He was dead nice. He sat me down. He said, like, I've read your notes, and wow, like looking at your notes and looking at you now. I walked in and I was talking at this point. He was like, wow, you're very lucky for a start. Someone up there must like you. And he said, like, I can't believe. Anyway, so he said lots of positive things. Like, he said, you've done really well considering what happened. And I was like, thank you. So I did a few tests, like my grip, my coordination, loads of different little things. And he said, for me, like when your sick note runs out, you can come back. And I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Thanks, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that was like, I had loads of optimism. I went away from that thinking I'll be back at work in 2-3 weeks. But then during those 2-3 weeks, I think other people have got involved, and obviously there's lots of fear around what happens.
Yeah, they're just scared.
I get it. I totally get it. And they're saying the goalpost then moved. They're like, we need some more information. Can you go to your GP? So I went to my GP. He said similar things, like, and signed me fit for work. And I said, look, I've got this fitness for work, like from a GP, you can have that. And they said they want my discharge notes as well, so I sent all that over. Yeah,
because they're medical professionals, you see.
Yeah.
Mate, I've had this with a few people I've managed, and really grinds me, because I'm like, this person's a doctorate, this person's a medical professional. That you're not. This is not your field. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't have something from a lawyer and then question it. This is a professional in their field. Yeah. I get you're going to do your own risk analysis, but sorry, I interrupted you, but it always annoys me when this happens.
No, yeah, mate. I feel like exactly the same. That's kind of the position I'm in now. So I got all those things, sent everything over. I was like, yeah, everything looks good, but still it wasn't enough. And I was like, well, what more can I give you? Everyone's saying I'm fit. Everyone's saying I'm fit to work. I feel fit. Like, honestly, if something was off, I would tell you. I would be honest about it. I'd say I'm not ready to come back, but I feel mint. And I said this would be a nice little win for me, getting back. And
a mental goal to say, I'm getting back to normality. I can see I'm still traveling through the journey. I'm still on recovery, but come back, light duties, and then whatever. Let's build me up, and let's have that marginal improvement.
Yeah, and sit and start looking at closing the book and moving on from it. But no, so they said the stage is pretty much where I'm at now. If they want a report from the specialist that looked after me in Middlesbrough, so I had to give consent to them to write to Middlesbrough and basically answer any questions they have. So I think the questions are along the lines of, will it happen again? Was it an injury? And like, has he? Obviously, I've made a full recovery, but along them lines. So I'm basically just waiting on this report from the specialist from Middlesbrough to come back, hopefully answer any questions, squash any doubts, and I can get back to doing what I love. But yeah, so that's where I'm at now. We're just waiting, and I don't know how long it'll take. They've written to the specialist. He's got to receive it, read it, answer all the questions, send it back. So I'm kind of just in limbo now, waiting. It's so frustrating because I feel fine. I feel like I'm being punished now for having an injury. But trying to be patient.
It's always easier to get into things than it is to get out of them. Do you know what I mean? To try and reverse your way back out of that situation, because people are just petrified. They're like, they've got to put their name on it that says, yeah, he, she, they are fine. And people are just really scared to do that.
Yeah,
and I get it to an extent. It's arse covering. Do you know what I mean? Half the time, but people forget that this is somebody's life you're dealing with.
Yeah, and it is bothering me. Like I said, it's another tick in the box that I need to do to get over it, so to speak. And it's kind of just holding me back now. I'm just waiting, but hopefully, when it comes, I can get back to doing what I love and get back to some normality. But
did you and Katie have any conversations about what you would do if they wouldn't let you back?
Yeah, so early days when it happened, and obviously going through this process, I'm like, blooming out, I'm going to have a backup plan here because it's not looking good. So obviously, as you know by now, I'm dead into CrossFit. I love it. So I thought I can do my coaching qualifications. I can look at coaching. But I love the job that much. I'm like, I can't see myself doing anything else. But I kind of wish I'd have done my coaching qualifications sooner. I had a backup plan or a side hustle, so to speak. Yeah. Because now I'm just just waiting. I feel I'm getting bored now of being at home and training every day. I mean, obviously, I love training, but
and I love being at home as well, because she might listen to this. It only takes
up an hour to have my day, then the rest of the day I'm just pottering about, wanting to go back to work. So yeah, I'll probably still will look into doing my coaching qualification at some point.
Absolutely,
but it's a cost, isn't it? And
yeah, it is. But think of it as an investment as well. I don't think I don't think CrossFit's going anywhere. Well, even if CrossFit goes anywhere sooner, functional fitness I think is here to stay for a long time. Yet I think the age of the monsters. Back when I was doing strongman and bodybuilding and all that sort of craziness. I mean, that's still around, but I think people have learnt the lessons of that silliness. And I think we understand and appreciate, or at least I do, that probably sounds a bit harsh, that functional fitness and longevity is certainly the way to go. Has this changed your perspective on things at all? In terms of your career, in terms of things you've done? Did you ever have that bucket list and thinking, oh shit, I need to start getting some of this done?
Yeah, I think going through something like this definitely changes the way you look at things. I'll never forget the sheer fear that went through me when I thought this is it, so to speak, and it makes you reassess what's important. So I'll never take for granted being able to speak again and actually get about and get up every day and go to the gym. I'll never take that for granted again. And career goal setting. Like I said, I wish I'd have had something on the side or a backup plan for if and when something did go wrong. You don't expect it, like I said, but it's nice to have something. And just in terms of goals and stuff, and mindset. Obviously, everything's been scrutinized and put under lots of pressure, and I've I feel like I'm coming out of it with a new mindset of just sheer positivity. I'm not really interested anymore in small talk, so to speak, or things that aren't going to benefit me and help me grow. So I'm
careful, you'll end up like me. And I don't say that in oh god, I've made it way, but I'm that's the kind of the whole reason the podcast started, because I'm so interested in shit that matters. Speaking to people, putting yourself around people that are really trying to push themselves, or who have had some experience that has really called the best out of them, and really trying to tease and learn those lessons and develop yourself from having those conversations. But what it does mean, and I'm just going to give you the other side of the coin, is like you've just said there, you get really bad at mediocrity. You get really bad at people's recreational negativity. I just cannot fucking engage with it at all. I'm just like fucking done. Do you know what I mean? And that's hard because there's lots of wonderful people in the world, and there's a lot of great people in the motor services, but there's still a large percentage of people that engage in a lot of recreational negativity. Yeah,
it's always going to be there, isn't it? And like you said, I feel like that is a path I'm on at the minute, and I'm just laser focused on things that are going to develop me and help me grow. And like you said, surrounding myself with like-minded people, and that's where I want to be at the minute, just getting better and getting over what's happened to me and just building back everything and more. I want to be better than I ever was. Yeah.
So when you look at those goals, is there one or two that stands out in your mind where you think, do you know what?
So
go on.
I've written a few goals down. Like I said, when in the early stages, I wrote everything down just to keep me focused and motivated. One is to beat like what I was doing last year. So like I said, CrossFit gives you lots of scores for workouts, and I've qualified for the quarterfinals of the CrossFit Games. I qualified for the European Championships. So I'm like, they're kind of at the top of my list. Can I beat that? Can I do that again? But the problem is I'm reluctant to ever handstand walk again, or do upside down stuff, because that potentially has been
you said factor. That when you said there's contributing factors. Sorry, I didn't come back to that. Energy drinks and handstand walks, what was the draw out from them? Sorry.
So when I shared my story, so many people reached out to me, lots of people with similar circumstances. So someone suffered a stroke from being in a handstand pose with the neck hyperextended. Someone else said they were doing bear crawls at CrossFit warm-up whilst drinking energy drinks, which again is like being on all fours, extend your neck to look where you're going. And just so many like pieces of the puzzle started coming together. And I was like, do you know what? I was doing loads of handstand walks with my neck hyperextended. I was on my second can of energy drink, which I don't ever do really. I was like, so I started.
Are you much of one for pre-workouts or supplements or any of that craziness? Do you hit any of that?
I've always had, so I've always had protein. I've dabbled in creatine and vitamins and supplements, but never pre-workout really. I've never I don't know, I never fancied it. I've always thought I didn't need it, but like I'd say 3 months ago, I tried a Monster Energy drink, and it was tasty, and I thought, hey, that's all right. And it kind of just like every day, like then before a workout or during a heavy lifting session, I'd have a Monster, and I was like, it just became a thing. And then at the competition, I thought I need another one because I was obviously tired, depleted from the events we've been doing. So I was on my second one. And then when you do your research, like you can look on Google or anywhere, they directly contribute to strokes, and like the amount of caffeine. So I probably had the equivalent to 12 cups of caffeine in my system when it happened. And
there's some serious levels out there. They just keep dialing them up, And it's not just, there's loads of other other drink companies out there. There's nothing specifically bad about Monster in general. they're all doing it. No. Do you know what I mean? And to be honest, the pre-workouts are worse than the energy drinks. I remember a Jack 3D was something I used to take years ago. Don't know if you ever remember that one. I actually got took off the market because I think it had effigy in it. And Jesus, I was pouring so much crap through my body then.
Yeah, but I think like the mixture of that, being upside down for prolonged periods with my neck hyperextended, putting pressure on my artery, is obviously create the perfect storm for it to happen. So I'll never have an energy drink again. But the problem is, like, my goals was to get to the CrossFit Games as a master athlete when I turned 35, which is the next category. So the category I'm in at the minute, I'm probably not good enough, or I haven't got enough time, not been doing it long enough to compete with those people. But by the time I turned 35 in 2-3 years time, the way I was going, I was like, yeah, I can make it. This is my goal. This is my sole purpose. And I like putting everything into it. And now, like, obviously I'm questioning that. Am I going to go upside down again? And I've said to myself is no more energy drinks. 12 months time, I'll reassess whether I'm going to go upside down again. Because I think
you'll do it before then. 12 months is a long ass time. I hope you stick to that. But I know what I'm like. This is like a 4-month goal, and then I'm like 7 days in. I'm like, actually, I might bring that forward a bit because I'm feeling quite good. Do you know? And I just terrible for that sort of thing.
I've kind of done that with my programming with the weightlifting side.
Exactly. Yeah. I've seen you post, so you're like, I was going to come in and do 80 kilos, but everything was feeling all right, so I've gone for 95. You know, and you're just like, what the fuck was that in the plan? Exactly, and that's what I'm saying, though. And as I don't know where the balance of that sits, because I used to work with a lot of powerlifters at Loughborough University, and they were so disciplined, and it would be about building success on success. So they would say, that's in the program. Doesn't matter if you come in and it feels so incredibly light. That's all you do. And I was like, that's so hard. Yeah. But then that's why I've tore everything. So that didn't work. But I'm sure somebody's going to learn this lesson at some point in time. I don't know. I mean, how do you feel about it all now when you think about your son and the sort of direction he should or shouldn't take his life and
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? That's a big part of my life now. I need to be here for him. So those decisions are impacted by that and being here for my family. And so if I decide that goal isn't going to happen for handstands, then I'll find another goal. There's other functional events I can do. But my next goal will probably just be being the best that I can be and supporting him. I'll live my goals through him. Unfortunately for him, he's probably going to end up doing CrossFit, and I'll push him.
Mate, you've got so much time left. You will do some crazy cool shit. I know you will.
Yeah, of course I will, mate.
Because I also say to people, we want to give our kids and the best opportunities and stuff like that, but I always say they learn with their eyes, not just their ears. So they learn by what you do. The amount of parents that say, I'm just here for my kid and I'm taking them here and I'm taking them there. And I know that's not what you're saying, but some people do that. Yeah. And actually it's just that I'm scared of going for things myself. And we encourage our kids to go to the Saturday club, even if you don't know anybody. Go and do this thing. And you're like, that's some scary shit for a kid to do. Yeah. What are you doing that's scaring you? What are you doing that's pushing you? That's what we've all got to just ask ourselves. And I try and ask myself that on a regular basis. And I try and scare myself once a week if I can.
Yeah, I like that, mate. I completely agree that. Every day with the way I'm going when I get to the gym, I'm at a point now where I'm pushing myself again. And there is, like I said, there's a part of me that is scared, terrified that something might happen. But then I also like the fact that I can shut that part up by doing it and finishing it. I'm like, there you go, see, you're fine, mate. Why are you being scared?
Well, because what's the alternative? Do you know what I mean? Stay at home, do nothing. And just be the guy that talks about
and get into a rut of just not feeling good about yourself, and I can't be that person. I have to go and push myself and feel those feelings and get through it.
Mate, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, mate. I know I reached out to you a little while ago just because I saw it and I'd been watching you for a while anyway, fucking stalking you online like I do with everybody else. And I just thought, shit the bed. That's just incredible. And that was before I even knew you'd done the military thing, you'd done the police thing. I just find it really inspiring. I really appreciate, I know you've been working today. We've both been working, coming back and taking this time away from Katie, away from George. I really appreciate it. So thank you for sharing that with us, brother.
No, mate, my pleasure. Yeah, thanks for reaching out, and it's all part of the process, isn't it? Talk about it, get through it, and I appreciate you reaching out, mate. Thanks.
Well, look, mate, as soon as you start doing your coaching qualification, my techers are a shower of shit. So I'll have to come over and you'll have to put me through my paces. I think you at 80% and me at 95%. We might be somewhere even because you're significantly more functional and I think probably stronger than me and everything else as well. And I have to be brutally honest with you.
I doubt it.
But mate, I'd love to come and spend a bit of time together. So stay in contact. Let me know when that operational box gets ticked, and I'd love to come over and see you sometime.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, sounds like a plan.
My friend. Go and put that boy to bed, and summer love to everybody. And I'll speak to you soon, all right?
I will, mate. Take care.
Take care, my friend.
The Firefighters Podcast is a global podcast seeking to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operators. Through a series of wide-ranging conversations celebrating those within our sector, we seek to encourage and support this incredible group of people. It's brought to you by myself, operational firefighter Pete Wakefield, and I speak with individuals from all walks of life who I sincerely believe can add value to or develop those who have chosen this life path. Please support your emergency services wherever you are in the world, and thank you for listening.